Alright. Sorry about that. I figured out what the problem was. Now that I am back on here, I accidentally made it for kids so no one could say anything. So I'm gonna give everybody a second to get in, and now let me know if that chat is working, guys. I don't know why I made it for kids. I thought I did it on the right thing, but apparently not. Dang it. Let's see. Is it streaming? Oh, there we go. Cool. Let me know, guys. First, let's see. I can see the chat on my phone, but I can't see it on my thing. Anyway, hi, how are you? Yes, you are technically first, and I just struck out. Nice. So, cool. As long as everything is going there. This is the first time, obviously, I'm doing this, so. I do believe that they're still around. It's not Tasmania. Okay, so here we go. I am going to play on this.
Interesting appearance.
And I just struck out a bunch.
In the 1930s, Benjamin lived in Beaumaris Zoo in Hobart, Tasmania, and while they spent their days in a bare concrete enclosure outside of the zoo and other parts of Tasmania, the species was being hunted to the brink of extinction. You see, in 1824, European settlers introduced sheep into Tasmania, and they blamed the thylacine for attacking and killing their livestock. Now, while it is perfectly possible some sheep kills were made by thylacine, recent evidence suggests the majority of livestock may actually have been lost to feral dogs and mismanagement. Regardless, in 1830...
I'll say, at that point, it's kind of hard to even begin to understand or question why or what was killing those animals. You put the blame on the easiest thing, and honestly, I would think that the dogs would be the easiest thing, but no one wants to kill their dogs. Dogs are the last things that people want to blame for things. Even, they would much rather, blame a monster than to blame, their animals, which is understandable.
Cash rewards were given to try and encourage people to hunt and kill thylacine. The populations were also under pressure from the wild dogs introduced by Europeans, the concurrent extinction of prey species like the Tasmanian emu, and a disease that impacted many captive specimens. Now, the tiger in the zoo managed to stay in good health in captivity until a particularly cold night in 1936, when it was locked outside and unable to go to its shelter, and it died. The owners of the zoo post ads and tried to hire trappers to get them another Tasmanian tiger, but they can't find any. No one can. And people begin to realize they're all gone. The species were now extinct. However,
that would be the worst thing in the world, to be quite honest with you. Worst thing ever would be to all of a sudden realize that nothing is left, or they're all gone. I mean, I know we feel like we see that all the time now. But if you really think about it, it used to be a lot worse. And people didn't even recognize it until it was too late. Like, now we go in. Oh, come on. Man, that would have ended the inning. Now we go into it and we realize, like, a lot of animals have been saved. The alligator, the Florida panther, even bears. Like, all these animals that were at one point in time just hunted down to the point of extinction and no one really seemed to care about it. They really have come a long way, or humans have come a long way in recognizing that. Even though we're doing it to some animals, like, it's going to be a bad day when all the fish are gone. Like, that's the next thing right now that, like, we seem to really not have stopped. Like, land animals, in certain parts of the world you get, like, in Africa, you have, like, rhinos and stuff like that are being hunted for stupid reasons, and some of them are extinct and have gone extinct in the past few years. But for the most part, a lot of conservation has gone towards those land animals, and even something like, even something like a rhino. I mean, they're being protected. Whether or not it's working, it's welcome to Florida. Hey, wet whistle. Yes, welcome to Florida.
The Australian government officially declared the thylacine extinct, the last dying in 1936. But not everyone agrees with this, and I wouldn't be making this video if it was as simple as that. Reports of thylacine sightings have continued even up to today.
Bro?
1,200 or so sightings.
How you doing, Saget Master?
At the University of Tasmania and his co-workers to create a database. From this, they published a paper that found the thylacine.
Yeah, I agree as well. Thing is, a lot of the areas that people are still looking in Tasmania. I mean, Tasmania is not. It's very rural, and to such an extent that, like, most of the country is not even like looked at. I mean, yes, there used to be a lot of logging and everything, but I know a lot of people go and visit areas that are like way out in the middle of nowhere that would make sense that they might still be around. Damn.
May have continued to survive into the late 90s or even the early 2000s. The paper even states that, though improbable, data and modeling suggest some chance of ongoing persistence in the
some good CGI, huh?
Of the island. Now you might be asking, how did they determine this? Well, they looked at the sightings. Of course, the possibility of fabrication or mistaken identity is always a possibility, but Brooke tried to take this into consideration and made a rating system for the claims. For example, a sighting made by a scientist or multiple witnesses would rank higher on the possibility scale than, let's say, a sighting made by one person with
Hey, Scared Light, it's going good.
This model,
how are you?
Thylacine went extinct
how's life been?
Ago, or maybe not at all. He thinks there's a chance that perhaps a few continue to exist in the western and southwestern portions of the island in difficult to access places.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've heard. I don't think I've seen this documentary, but there's a few of them out there that talk about this exact situation. Not sure if the thylacine are still out there. Yeah, I don't know either, and that's what we're trying to see.
Now, that is
maybe this compelling video could prove,
before we go any further,
one way or the other.
I feel obliged to tell you, not everyone shares his view.
Oh, I don't think so.
The ecologist Colin Carlson published a paper in 2017 and considered the possibility of the thylacine still surviving to be extremely unlikely. Mr. Carlson thinks it's more likely that they went extinct between 1936 and 1943, or at the very latest, 1960. So the question is, do we have any physical evidence to go along with the sightings? Well, there are a variety of videos that...
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely just say that they've been around since a certain time, or it would make sense that they are, but there's no way to really... I don't think there... I mean, unless there was a physical body, there's really no way to know for sure. I mean, I'd be happy too if it was still alive. My puggle smells like a thylacine. Oh yeah? How do you know? How do you know what they smell like? Do you have one?
Thylacine long after 1936.
Give it up!
If this isn't shocking enough, many of the videos come from mainland Australia, where the thylacine went extinct about 2,000 to 3,000
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense.
What?
But before we jump over to
that doesn't make much sense at all.
Let's take a look at some notable sightings from Tasmania. And let's start with probably the most famous one from the wildlife ranger Hans Narding, who had a sighting in March 1982 in northwestern Tasmania. It was a rainy night and Mr. Narding was asleep in his 4x4 on a remote forest track. He woke up a little after 2 a.m. and out of habit he stuck his hand out of his window to swing his spotlight around, and the light came to rest, according to Hans, on a thylacine. The animal was about 20 feet in front of his vehicle.
Now here's something for you, because this does happen with not just thylacine, but it happens a lot with like Bigfoot people, or even recently the alien stuff. They claim that someone who's reputable, like, it automatically gives it a certain amount of credit. And, like, especially, like, alien stuff, that's a little bit more believable now. I mean, but the Bigfoot, dang it. Man, I am just messing myself up here. The Bigfoot stuff, doesn't make much sense to me. You'll have like a cop in a rural area will say they saw something, or park ranger, and I get a little skeptical because they're just people too. Yes, do they lend some credibility, but that doesn't mean that they're completely credible. How do you feel about scientists cloning when releasing it back in the wild? I think that I think I just gave up a grand slam. I am bombing this game already. I haven't been playing this bad recently. I think that if you can clone something and release it, and it's an exact copy and like acts the exact same way, you can do it slowly. It would have to be years and years and years on, not right away, and you'd have to be able to do it slowly because a lot of those animals haven't had to deal with them as a predator in a very long time, and a lot of them probably forgot how to oh no, are you kidding? They probably forgot how to deal with them. So I feel like it could throw things way out of whack, like an overcorrecting. I love to believe Bigfoot is real, but I feel like it has something more definitive by now. Exactly, I'm the exact same way. Bigfoot, even with the people saying, like, oh, here's a ranger who found it, he's credible. I hate to make this argument, but like, people can't stand cops right now, or not everybody, obviously. A lot of people can't, and don't trust them as far as they can throw them. Cops are supposed to be very credible people. A lot of people aren't going to believe them no matter what, whether that's true or not. So, like, just because somebody says something it doesn't matter where they're at. People can also be wrong. I almost forget. Prey animal Tasmania. Yeah, like all the animals in Tasmania that would be that are being attacked right now, it would be catastrophic for a lot of them who are already endangered and don't need another predator regardless. I don't know, it's a very hard thing to
had his camera with him,
really think about.
As he reached back in to get the camera, the thylacine walked off into the bush. There are a few notable things about this sighting. If we go back to the Brook method of determining the validity of a sighting, this one does check a lot of boxes. The animal was fairly close to the observer, the sighting lasted a few moments, and for a majority of the sighting, the animal was still, or at least not moving very much, and probably the most important factor, the sighting was made by a wildlife ranger who would have been experienced in identifying the different animals in the Tasmanian forest. The only thing that could have made the sighting better would have been maybe some other witnesses, really, or I guess better lighting conditions, but thylacines are nocturnal, so. But a sighting like this isn't something you can just ignore, and to be fair, it wasn't. By the next night, National Park officers had cameras in position. The cameras were operated for 3 months, but...
Wise, I wouldn't say wise. I would not say wise. I would just say... I don't like to believe almost anything without evidence because there's too much things without evidence that are out there. A lot of habitats that are basically non-functional because we extirpated certain animals. Yes, exactly. And putting a predator back into those areas might not help the situation right now. The other things in that environment still need to... And also, if you reintroduce thylacine, if you're already having a low prey population, what's that going to do besides drive the prey population even lower?
Didn't produce any results.
My favorite animal? I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite animal. That's a hard question. I might have to think about that a little bit.
Paw prints. But again, no evidence was found. The investigation was kept secret for 2 years until the decision was made to announce the investigation.
Well, thank you, Scared Light. I appreciate that.
Unfortunate lack of results. This wasn't the first search done for a living thylacine, though. In fact, a search which is regarded as one of the most intensive, systematic searches was carried out from 1967 to 1973 by a zoologist, Jeremy Griffith, and dairy farmer, James Malley. They did surveys along the west coast of Tasmania, set up as many camera stations.
Wolves are pretty cool.
Any new sightings as fast as they could, and they created the thylacine.
I like alligators a lot.
Research team, but sadly,
I do like alligators a lot.
Either.
You know,
though, even if the
I see them a lot, though, so that's
there.
partly
I don't imagine
the
it would be
reason.
easy to photograph. Let's just pause for a moment and take a look at the island of Tasmania. In terms of size, Tasmania is often compared to Ireland, though it's a little smaller than Switzerland. However, Switzerland has a population of 8.7 million. Ireland has a population of a little over 5 million, and the population of Tasmania is about 540,000 people. Also consider that about half of Tasmania is forested, and that's today. The further you go back in time,
There's still a lot of woods out there.
Capturing a rare animal on camera today would prove very difficult. Trying to do it in the 70s and 80s with less advanced technology and more forest would be a little extra difficult.
Think about this too with the camera situation. Even today, like, this is a really cheap USB camera. What is wrong with me today? This is a really cheap USB camera, and I mean, it's not great quality, but it's pretty good. It's better than 90% of the quality that people get of extinct things, whether it be Bigfoot or whatever. Or the ivory-billed woodpecker. Every single time there is video or a picture of one that comes out, it's terrible. It looks like it's shot on a potato. You don't see people who are out in their woods their entire life with good cameras actually take good pictures of the things they claim. All these things are always the most grainiest, disgusting photographs and videos you've ever seen. That I think a lot of that's on purpose, especially like Bigfoot and stuff. You're telling me you can't get a clear shot? It's always got to be the most blurry, disgusting thing out there. Somebody has my phone, S23 Ultra, has an amazing camera on it. It's just in my pocket all the time. And it's got a crazy zoom on it. You're telling me now that nobody with a freaking cell phone with a good camera on it ever comes across these things? Come on, man. I suck today. With those Euro spiny lizards I keep finding with the blue tails might be my favorite reptiles these days. That's awesome. Catching alligators as a little kid. Peterson was a great video. The Peterson Gimlin?
I think, though, on the flip side,
I don't think so. I mean,
more and more people have searched for the tiger.
Mike's explanation of that is they said it was fake.
I guess
they admitted that was fake.
Angles, but I will say, from watching many
the Peterson Gimlin film is a complete fabrication.
There are big chunks of Tasmania that are very
so it's as clear as it is because
on YouTube by Rob
they made sure it was as clear as it could be
Tasmania,
and far enough away so that you don't see the seams in the suit.
In 1938. Now, I don't want to spoil that.
Or Patterson Gimlin, yeah, that's what it was.
But the point I'm trying to make is that in the documentary, you can really see just how isolated and wild some places are. And it's not just the southwest where searches are conducted either.
Yeah, agreed. Too many good cameras out there now for there not to be video.
Volume 2, which has thylacines on the cover. The cryptozoologist Richard Freeman talks about some of his trips to find different cryptids, including, of course, multiple trips he took in search of the thylacine. Now, he didn't want to reveal the exact location he and his team searched, but it was somewhere in the northeast of the island, at least for the first trip. I think his second trip, from what I can tell, was more central. On both occasions, though, the areas he went...
And, I don't know how many of you guys have seen this, but when I was talking about the okapi the other day in one of my shorts, the okapi was only thought to possibly be there for 30 years before there was concrete proof and people found it, because it's a legit animal that was out there. It was a large animal, but it was a legit animal that was out there, and scientists were able to find it. Now, not saying that other animals that are larger can't remain hidden, but if it's out there and people actually go looking for it, there's a good chance you're going to find it, even with oh my god, this dude, he pitches so fast. Not Coyote Peterson, Forrest Galante, that Extinct or Live show, he found multiple animals that were claimed to be extinct, like the Zanzibar leopard, and there was a monkey he found and a tortoise, whatever. The point is that he looked, and sometimes he didn't find him. He also found a type of wolf that had been thought to be extinct in a certain area. Point being is that it was a big animal and it was there. Oh my God. And they found it. It was a good. They proved no man could walk that gait. No, that's not true, because I've seen documentaries on it, and they came out, and the guy who did the walk on camera. And this was a while back. And that's how he walked, with that big gait. And like, he showed it. We have lots of large primates. Why would you never find a single one in America? Yeah, humans can't. Yes, the thick boys can walk with that gait for sure.
And two, we're very, very off the beaten track. Now, the cool thing is, while Mr. Freeman does the standard camera traps, makes footprint casts, and takes samples, etc., he also tries to interview as many eyewitnesses as he can. Well, not just eyewitnesses. Some people have also heard what they think could be a thylacine call. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any recording of a thylacine call on record that we can compare it to. But
that's frustrating.
Witnesses from the time say it sounded like a yap, but in 3 parts. Yip, yip, yip. Supposedly somewhat similar to a sugar glider, but still pretty different. And Mr. Freeman talks about his own experience hearing possible thylacine calls. But anyway, it's interesting to hear about the different sightings and how the thylacine is such a prominent part of the culture. 2 thylacines even appear on the Tasmanian coat of arms. The book has a lot more info on the thylacine, and it's a really fun read. And before I move on, I just want to mention 2 general things that I learned about the thylacine that surprised me a little, and it might even surprise you.
I know, I did finally figure it out. It took me a little while. I'm a boomer, what can I say?
So firstly, apparently there are records of stripeless thylacine, or at least ones with very faint stripes. And secondly, during the winter months, thylacine develop a thicker, shaggy coat, like a fox. I don't know,
that's pretty cool.
It was sort of interesting. I always picture them with short hair and prominent stripes, I guess because that is what we see in the most famous footage of a thylacine. You know the one, the video with Benjamin that we talked about. Actually, that's another thing I want to talk about really quick. So many places, the National Museum of Australia.
I mean, I'd like to give it some time,
UK, the
but like
Geographic, and even the Thylacine Museum. And
I don't know.
A bunch of YouTube videos.
By now, I figured that we would have found something.
Thylacine was a male named Benjamin. But what's the source?
And
of
we
this?
haven't.
Well,
I wanted to believe when I was a kid.
Named Frank Darby, who, in 1968, told the Melbourne Press that he was the last curator of Hobart Zoo, and that the thylacine.
Oh, it's so disgusting how Benjamin died.
Thylacines are mute, which isn't true, and that they used to feed them live rabbits as a show for the public. Well, guess what? Apparently, Frank Darby had never worked at Hobart Zoo. Local reporters in Tasmania tracked down a woman named Alison Reed, whose father ran the zoo until his death in 1935.
Oh my gosh, I'm swinging at everything.
Herself. And she said no one named Frank Darby worked at the zoo, and she was quite offended by the idea that her.
Yeah, I do remember that footage. What did they figure out what it was?
As a public exhibition. Also, the last thylacine was a female. They know this because her remains were found. Sorry, I know that's a random tangent, but I see so many websites and videos say that the last thylacine was a male named Benjamin, so I just thought I would try and dispel that misinformation a bit. And while we're at it, I think it's worth mentioning that according to the records, the last thylacine was an old female caught in May of 1936 that died in September of 1936.
Why do you hope there's no Bigfoot?
The most recent footage we have is supposed to have been.
Wouldn't it be awesome if there were Bigfoot?
So
I think so.
The famous footage of the last thylacine isn't actually the last known thylacine? Confusing. Let's get back to some sightings. Now, though the island of Tasmania is the area most associated with the thylacine, the Tasmanian tiger, the majority of sightings actually come from the mainland, where the thylacine is thought to have gone extinct thousands of years ago. The mainland has also given us some of the more compelling footage of a possible survivor.
Oh, I've seen this film, though.
In 1973, we have the Doyle thylacine footage.
That
footage is just 10 seconds
that's
long.
interesting.
8mm film by Gary and Liz Doyle in South Australia. It's said that the footage shows a thylacine running across the road.
Oh, it looks so close.
Sure what the subject is in the footage because it's pretty grainy and not that clear, but the overall shape seems to match up. On a few frames, it seems like there are stripes on its rump. It has a stiff tail, and it seems to be exerting a lot of its power from its back legs. And that is consistent with the accounts.
That looks so good. That's what makes me question things. That looks so good. I mean, the way it's running too. I don't know what. Of course, I don't live there, but like, what a malnourished, emaciated dingo with mange? I don't know what else it could be. It would be omnivorous, man-eating people. I mean, you don't know that. It might not eat people. I think it would be pretty neat. Tasmanian tiger was still out there evading people for so long. What's up, Mr. Duck? How you doing? Yeah, I mean, that's possible. That looks really good right there.
Of how a thylacine would move at speed. At some points it even looks like it's almost a little bit upright. That said, I've tried to enhance the footage with some AI upscaling, and I kind of go back and forth.
I look forward to your comments every single time, Mr. Duck.
Thylacine videos.
Come on, there we go. That's a... No. Oh my god!
So if you see footage of a creature that isn't very clear, or it's sort of silhouetted so you can't make out if it has stripes or not, you can usually look to where the heel is, and if it's higher on the leg, you're probably looking at a fox, perhaps one with an injury and or mange. But for the Doyle footage, the heel does seem to be lower down. Now, of course, there are some that will say it could be a dog, and the back heel of a dog...
Hello, everyone. How you doing, Brody?
...like a fox. But if you look at a lot of different videos of dogs running, it's not always very...
Hey, John, how are you?
Yeah, maybe it could...
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of folklore about Bigfoot.
It's hard to say for
we have no idea.
Unfortunately.
No one has any idea.
There might just be something to this one. Next, let's take a look at some
right down the
famous
middle,
photos
I don't
of
even
the
swing.
thylacine from 1984.
I'm glad I didn't live in the 80s, to be quite honest with you. I'd probably be really cringer than I am now. Oh, come on.
Western Australia, after many sightings have been reported in the area. After a period of 3 to 5 months of searching for a Tasmanian tiger, he produced 5 photographs, allegedly showing the rear of the tiger, apparently digging a hole. So let's just get into some criticisms and responses. Okay, first,
there we go.
It does seem to have a stiff tail.
That's a play.
And though faint, it also seems to have stripes. So far, so good. A criticism, though, is that if you look at the shadow on the bush behind the subject, the shadow seems to change drastically from picture 2 to picture 3.
Doing pretty good. Drove for Uber all day today.
It's now believed this could be explained from
that
Mr.
wasn't
Cameron
too bad.
Closer to the subject.
I only had 5 rides,
The
but one of them was a $60 ride, so when I was done, I came home, and that was that.
The subject hasn't moved at all. Strange if it was digging a hole. Also, there is just something a little bit weird to me that we never see.
The stripes look like a shadow, to be quite honest with you.
Thylacine. I feel like the head is the part that always looks a little bit off or kind of goofy. So some have speculated it could be a staged specimen, while others have speculated something even worse.
What did you do?
Yeah, that, I don't know. The back end looked honestly like, because where it was sitting where the sun was, it looked like shadows to me. That made it, a lightly tan animal, which I don't know how many of those are in Australia or Tasmania, wherever this picture was taken. But a smaller animal that with some shadows on it looks kind of like a fox. I don't know. I guess he would have been snorting so much blood. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I don't do it now, and it's not that hard to come across.
That he did find a live thylacine, but he shot it, and the fresh kill had rigor mortis and was staged to make it seem like it was a living animal. But Mr. Cameron has stated very clearly
Come
that
on.
the animal was not shot.
I cannot hit off of
and
this
he
guy.
has repeatedly expressed a lot of respect and admiration for the animal.
Come
and his
on.
desire for conservation, and he also said
Encrypted
some
now.
other interesting
Technically,
things.
it's considered a cryptid. It is,
I
because
don't really want to dive
it's not
too
proven
deep
to
into
exist
conspiracy
anymore.
theories and cover-ups, but since we were already talking about Mr. Cameron, let me read to you a piece from an interview he gave to New Scientist. He stated he was hired
Dude,
by the
this
Agricultural
guy.
Protection Board.
He's gonna
about
throw a
4
slurve
years ago
down there,
to
isn't he?
track and kill an animal in southwest
circle
Western
change
Australia.
now.
He said this week it was significant that the Western Australia habitat of the tiger was subject to mining leases. If the tiger's presence was established, a conservation order could be placed on the land.
Ooh.
He said, the department
That
are not
seems
convinced
possible.
It is a Tasmanian tiger, but they want to know where I saw it. They even want me to capture or kill it, but they don't want me to tell anyone about it. Government authorities are afraid to speak out because they know what it is. I think they are afraid of the
Dang
costs
it.
involved. If we prove
Here, that's kind of... I think that does happen. Absolutely does happen. It definitely does happen. But it also is, because people know that kind of stuff does happen, it's an easy scapegoat to not have a lot of legitimate evidence, if that makes any sense. If if you say that, oh, the government wants it, the government doesn't want me to know, I can't let anybody know. I mean, ooh, come on. No, that's caught. Oh no, that's gone. Heck yeah! Finally. This documentary. This is 5 months ago that this came out. This is by Wild World.
The animal was a Tasmanian tiger. It could cost the government a fortune. Apart from rewriting history books, they would have to make the habitat a reserve, stop mining in the area, and declare the animal an endangered species. This also
That's my theory on what's going on right now with the Florida panther. They FWC and other places don't want to admit that they are. There we go. Now I'm hitting off of him. Don't want to admit that these animals are making their way north, because if they did, they'd have to protect a lot more land, and that land is currently being developed. So we would, and people on like the board of FWC also own these development companies. So it's like all of this is working together to kind of make it better for their bottom dollar to not have these animals in places where they'd have to protect more, if that makes sense. I mean, that's exactly what this guy is describing right here.
Reminds me of an episode of Animal X, Natural Mystery Unit, where they interviewed a man named Ray Green in Tasmania. Mr. Green was a former logger who went to run a wildlife sanctuary, and he described how trees would be cut down in an area, and then the area of a few hundred acres would be burned from the outside in, killing all the animals inside the circle. And when asked about the thylacine, he said, "If a tiger was found tomorrow, you can imagine the world outcry. And if that happened, forestry would have to start doing things properly."
But the number one enemy for forestry is the Tasmanian tiger.
Mr. Green even had
I mean, it makes all the sense in the world.
Or I guess I should say a possible...
No, they have not been in the animal
they
good
kept
graces
under lock and
recently.
key, as he feared it could be stolen. Now this episode...
Not the
Animal X was made
officers,
years
but the
ago,
board.
back in the early 2000s,
People at
I
the
think.
top.
But with just a quick search, you can see that logging is
nothing wrong with
still
the
a pretty
officers.
contentious issue in Tasmania. But let's jump back to the mainland now and address the question. How can there be thylacine sightings if the animal went extinct thousands of years ago? Well, I think there are three possible reasons. Let's get the boring one out of the way first. Misidentification. Of course, this could apply to the sightings in Tasmania too, but humans are notorious for misidentifying animals. There was a case in New York City where multiple New Yorkers
like bears and
thought they'd
Bigfoot.
seen a tiger, but when the NYPD officers arrived on the scene, they found it was actually a big raccoon. If people can mistake a raccoon for a tiger, then perhaps
very recently I went over that the hog in the UK, or was it France or Spain, whatever. It was in Europe earlier this year, and they said it was a lion, a female lion, when it was a hog. I mean, people misidentify things like crazy. Come on. No.
Take a quail, a patamelon, a fox, or even a dog for a thylacine. I think most people will
definitely.
agree
They don't
that
want to
some
be.
of the
They don't want to be
signs
slowed
are
down with their
misidentification.
harvesting
But I
of
guess
things.
the disagreement comes from what percentage of these sightings you think are misidentification. Is it 100%, or is it less? Because as cryptozoologists
A
like to
raccoon
say,
tiger.
if even
Oh my
one
God.
person really saw a thylacine, then at least some must have survived past the extinction. And that would lead me on to point number 2. Perhaps it didn't go extinct thousands of years ago, and small populations remain undiscovered in remote parts of Australia. And to be fair, Australia
that's a
is
huge stretch.
incredibly massive. The
That is a huge stretch, and I'm about to lose the game. But at least I scored 2.
It's the 6th largest country, about twice the size of India. If there is anywhere for an extinct animal,
What, the bear thing, Bigfoot to Native Alaskans?
Pretty good bet. But then there
What
is
does
a
native
third option.
have to do with
This
anything?
is an ostrich living wild.
I mean, not to say that they don't know their land, but a lot of Native Americans also believe in skinwalkers and all of these other things, and a lot of that is what is the word? Ooh, Jeff Bagwell. What are your options? First baseman. Let's see. Nope. Sorry, bro. They have their own beliefs and stuff that there's nothing wrong with believing in it, but it doesn't mean that it's true. And most of the people live in the thylacines would live. Yeah. Very true.
But this isn't Africa. This is the outback in South Australia. You see, in the 1890s and again in the 1970s, ostriches were introduced into South Australia to be farmed for their feathers.
By the way, this is tap water from
failed, and the
Zaxby's.
ostriches were released into the wild. And you can now see a few,
Because I don't drink
not
soda.
many, but a few still alive in the Australian outback. So you might see where I'm going with this. Were thylacine brought to the mainland from
I mean, a lot of them do see
and released
bears, but a
into the
bear
wild?
standing on its back
Possibly.
legs.
In
There's
the
plenty
years
of people
leading
who
up to
see
World War
bears
I,
in
many
situations they
species
never
were
thought
being
of.
released at Wilson's Prom
Or in ways they
Victoria,
never thought they
Australia,
could.
including Tasmanian possums, King Island wombats, and Queensland tree kangaroos. Now, there doesn't seem to be a record of thylacines being released, but considering the animals had a bad reputation of killing livestock, it's speculated the tigers may have been released on the quiet, so that angry farmers wouldn't get outraged. It seems like a reasonable theory. Many thylacine were sent to the mainland for zoos, and it was known they were in decline, and there have been nearly 200 reports of sightings from Victoria. Though, what I will say is that even if this did happen...
It might be tap water from Mexico. They might have shipped it in.
Into the 21st
You never know.
Century, so who knows? Let's hop back to Tasmania for a minute to talk about some more recent photos that caused a
Friendly
big
quit?
stir.
No.
In February 2021, Neil Waters, president of the Thylacine
And he's gonna
Awareness
whoop
Group
me
in
now,
Australia, or TAGOA, released a video describing how he had pictures of not just one, but 3 thylacine together, possibly being a mother, father, and a baby. Neil Waters believes the best picture is the one of the Joey, the baby thylacine.
Neil
And you can
Waters.
look at the pictures online.
Isn't that the guy who
Mr.
Forrest
Waters
Galante
had
has a
different
problem
experts
with?
Look at the photos before he released them to rule out another animal. Among the experts were international dog and cat show judges, vets, and wildlife experts. Though most of them wanted to stay anonymous. A senior vet.
Oh, come on.
70 to 80.
Oh!
The animal
That was safe!
Sounds good, but not everyone is convinced. The
Not-
photos
not-
were also
that's
sent
not
to
accurate.
me,
That
the
is a
honorary
wrong
curator
call.
of vertebrate zoology at the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery. His conclusion was that the animals were very unlikely thylacine and more likely to be pademelons, small marsupials that live in Australia.
Such a
Mr.
cute
Waters
animal,
has disputed
pademelon.
this, saying
Even the
way
name is
tail
cute.
sits, the fact the feet are broad,
should've been
and that there are
gone.
4 toe pads with claws among the features prove it can't be a pademelon. Again, you can check the photos out for yourself. Personally, I really can't say for certain, and I'm obviously not an expert, but it doesn't really look like a thylacine to me. Again, you can look at the different evidence collected by TAGOA by visiting the website, but currently there doesn't seem to be evidence that everyone agrees points to a thylacine. Now you might be wondering why I'm not showing any of the images in this video. But TAGOA doesn't really like people showing their images on YouTube channels, and they, or at least Neil Waters, doesn't like it when people disagree with him or
Oh, yeah,
question his
it's
photos.
that guy.
Even when those people are biologists who have searched for the thylacine and believe it is still out there. I really wanted to like Neil Waters, and I mean, I do respect that he's putting the work in and trying to get the evidence, but the way he has reacted to people just for questioning the photos is disappointing. I mean, I'm not looking for any drama.
Come on.
If you
Get
want,
there!
you can search Neil Waters.
Oh!
The Wild Times podcast.
Too close plays
Wild
at
Times
first.
Cooking
Bull.
to see what I'm talking about. But again,
Oh,
I
yeah,
really
it
do
is
wish
that guy.
TAGOA the best of luck in their work. And if you want to decide for yourself, they do have a lot of videos and photos on their website. They also have a YouTube channel I'm subscribed to, and yeah, maybe I'm not convinced by their videos, but it is interesting. Now, since I mentioned the Wild Times podcast, it would be remiss of me not to mention the theory put forward by the dashing biologist.
Here you go,
Hans
Saget
Narding.
man. Oh, look at they're gonna stroke
In
him off too.
1960, archaeologists discovered the lower jaw of a Tasmanian tiger in New Guinea. That fossil was dated to be about 2 million years old, and it's believed the Tasmanian tiger in New Guinea died out at the end of the Pleistocene, so about 12,000 years ago. But not everyone is convinced. The biologist Forrest Galante believes there may still be some thylacine alive out there.
Oh,
Now,
that
the
was a
idea isn't
strikeout.
super recent, but to be honest, I've only heard about it thanks to Mr. Galante shining a light on the subject. Searching through some older articles, it seems that the idea has been floating around for a while. The cryptozoologist Dr. Carl Schuker gave an interview in 2013 where he explained that unconfirmed sightings of thylacine-like beasts have been reported from Papua New Guinea and Irian Jaya, the western Indonesian half of New Guinea. Some of the local tribes there speak of a canine-like animal known locally as the Dobsegna, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but the Dobsegna is described as having stripes, a stiff tail, and a big mouth. Sounds promising, and to quote Dr. Schuker, New Guinea, and especially Irian Jaya, is far less well explored than either Tasmania or mainland Australia. Recent expeditions to Irian Jaya's Foja Mountains discovered new species including a giant rat, tiny wallaby, and a new honey eater. Now quickly, just as an aside, I realize that the word cryptozoologist...
I know that one of the things that Forrest talked about, because I remember that episode, that there's like a valley in the middle of like these mountains where like, I think they call it like Jurassic Park or something like that, because like they're like, if there's a place in the world where animals that have never been discovered, or if those hidden animals are there, it's going to be there. And like I know there's an area like that in South America where some people believe like megafauna could still be around, like maybe even like giant sloths and stuff like that, just because no one's ever been there, or at least documented it. It's definitely interesting to think about whether or not it's legit.
Often comes with a bit of a negative connotation, but Dr. Schuker is about as professional as they come. He holds a PhD in zoology and comparative physiology from the University of Birmingham, and he is a fellow of both the Zoological Society of London and the Royal Entomological Society. I've also been reading his book, Mystery Cats of the World, for another video, and he likes to be thorough with his research. And then of course there is the biologist Forrest Galante, who has many fascinating videos about the thylacine. Now the reason the thylacine is
Let's go, double play.
Australia comes down to three factors: humans, dingoes, and climate. Severe droughts hit
it's possible.
Mainland thylacine hard. They hurt the Tasmanian
it's definitely
populations
possible
too, but not as much.
Unlikely, but possible.
Humans and the dingoes that they brought to the Australian mainland outcompeted the food. The lack of dingoes in
How did that
Guinea
not go
like
farther?
animals were able
Just
to survive
late,
for
you
longer.
kidding me?
But what about Papua New Guinea? Well, as previously stated, a lot of the area is unexplored and untouched, at least by outsiders. And while there are wild dogs there, they can't traverse into some of the deeper valleys or areas of thick rainforest that may be ideal for thylacine. In 2016, scientists confirmed the existence of the highland wild dog in the mountains of Papua New Guinea and Indonesia's Papua provinces. And this was an animal that hadn't been seen in over 40 years. So we have three main places the thylacine might still exist: Tasmania, mainland Australia, and Papua New Guinea. There are a very small amount from other places, like one or two in Canada, the USA, and the UK. In fact, the aforementioned cryptozoologist
Come on,
Richard
get
Freeman
through,
wrote
yes.
an article in 1999 where he described how he thought an escaped thylacine may have been responsible for attacking livestock in Ennerdale in the spring of 1810. I've also heard theories that escaped thylacine in the US could be responsible for the legend of the chupacabra, but I'm not so sure about that. Anyway,
Yeah, right.
Tasmania, the
Yeah, right.
seem like the places you should search if you
That
want to
would be
find
something.
these.
The thylacine's a
There are good
chupacabra.
arguments to be made, but I'm also a little cautious about it. I, of course,
Oh my
really
God,
want
why am
people
I
to be
swinging
right
it
about
out of the
thylacine
zone
still
like that?
existing, and I hope we are on the brink of finding one. But a lot of people have been looking for a while now, and the thing about the thylacine is, even before humans hunted them out of existence, they were already under the decline.
Exactly.
Now, if they hadn't
I
been
do suck
hunted
at this game.
and parts of their habitat hadn't been destroyed, they
Canada.
probably would have
Why
lived
would there be
longer. And
no?
with
I don't
some
think there's no
possible
thylacine in
conservation
Canada.
efforts, they might have been able to help the thylacine toward extinction. But the point I'm making is they are already in some trouble. Now, I do believe that some probably did survive past 1936, but up until present day, with no concrete evidence as of yet. Of course, people much more qualified than me, like actual biologists with PhDs, say otherwise, so listen to them. But I can't help but wonder, as much as I hate to say it, what if the thylacine really is gone? Well, that's why we have Plan B.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
I mean no disrespect to those who say they've seen living thylacine, but let's just assume that they definitely have gone extinct. Could we bring them back with cloning? Well, people are trying. In fact, they've been trying for a while, since Dolly the sheep was cloned in the 90s. A paleontologist named Mike Archer, who is an expert on de-extinction at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, led a pioneering
Oh, come on, no!
in the 2000s and in 2013. And other scientists do believe that
Oh my gosh, he took so long to throw it!
DNA samples have been obtained from hundreds
Ever
of
heard of
thylacine
the search of
specimens,
lost
such as
species?
pelts
Yeah.
and bones, and in 2017,
How do you- yeah,
a team
exactly.
led by Andrew Pass at the
no, I
University of
haven't.
Melbourne announced the successful sequencing of its entire genome. It is the most intact genome obtained for an extinct species. And there are people working on bringing back the thylacine right now. I've talked about Colossal before. They are the organization trying to bring back the woolly mammoth, but they have also teamed up with Andrew Pask and his team, Tigger Lab, the thylacine integrated genetic restoration research, and together they are trying to bring back the thylacine. To quote Dr. Pask, "We are so excited for Tiger to partner with Colossal on this journey. We both share the same vision and passion to de-extinct the thylacine. Working together will
It's a
enable
cool
us to make
thought.
this a reality faster than we could have ever hoped." Now you can go to the website and you can look at the steps they have to bring back the thylacine, but it doesn't
I don't know,
go into
Nathan.
very
I don't know what
deep
kind of throw
detail.
that was.
It
It
seems
was
like the
bad.
step they're working on now is generating high-quality reference genomes for all closest living relatives of thylacine to determine best
Come
fit.
on.
I don't really know how
Oh!
it is, mostly because I'm just not smart enough to understand it, but considering how qualified
should've thrown
and
the third.
optimistic the team
What is
is,
wrong
and
with
that
me?
they've received a lot of funding, including an apparent $10 million from the Hemsworth brothers,
Oh my
I
god.
think given enough time, they might just be able to pull this off. How much time? Well, like I said about the mammoth, it always seems to be just a few years away.
Exactly.
But I think time has proven those estimations are always a bit optimistic. And
Exactly.
perhaps maybe
I'm at a point with that, with the cloning stuff, where I want to believe it's true, obviously, but like until it happens, until you have a baby mammoth or a baby thylacine, I'm not going to believe it. I'm not. Unless it's like physically there, you can keep on saying it's right around the corner. But it's never right around the corner. It never actually happens. Or like funding falls through. There's always something. And then like they talked about the mammoth. And it's like, okay. Well, then they talk about the thylacine. Well, which one are you going to do first? Which one are you going to do? Are you going to work on both? Because, I mean, I guess you can work on one without the other, but you would think that they'd at least try to get one done first. I don't know. Thylacine probably more reasonable than a mammoth, I would assume. But, I don't know. I could be completely wrong. Dang it.
we should be thinking more in terms of decades rather than years. Or maybe someone will find one in the wild first. And that's kind of the note I want to end on with the thylacine. We can't be sure of anything in this world. But if you eat healthy and get plenty of sleep and all those other great things we should do to look after ourselves, then, one way or another, we might just live long enough to see this unique and odd creature walk amongst us
I
once
hope.
again.
I really do hope so.
Before I go, I just want to throw a few recommendations out there. The Centre for 14th Zoology funds many expeditions to find cryptids, including the thylacine, and has worked with Richard Freeman and Carl Schucker, so check out their website. Their logo is actually a thylacine. Of course, watch some Wild Times podcasts or any interview with Forrest Galante about the thylacine, especially if you want to hear more about the tiger and the PNG. Rob Parsons has a great 90-minute, beautiful documentary searching for the thylacine in remote Tasmania. And finally, I gotta mention Wildlife with Cookie. This dude has made a bunch of videos and interviews about the thylacine. Almost any topic I've mentioned in this video, he has made an entire video dedicated to. Of course, as I've realized researching for this video, there are tons of stuff out there about the thylacine, so I'm sure there's plenty of great material left out. Anyway, thank you
Wildlife
so much for
with
watching
Cookie,
this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing. I'd also like to give a special thank you to anyone who has supported me on.
Well, I'll tell you what. Check out this guy. It's Wild World. I'll put, when I'm done with the video, like in the description, I'll make sure to put a link to this video. This guy's pretty cool. I like this a lot. This is the kind of stuff I would love to do, just on a, oh my god, just on a different level. Like, I mean, I would like to do a little bit more like in the field type things. That's what I would love to do, is to mix in the field stuff with this. Doubt it's gonna give birth exactly. I think the elephant is already pregnant. You said that it's already, that they made the elephant pregnant with the mammoth? Is that what you're saying? Because if that's true, that would be sick. That would be sick if they're actually going through with that. Seriously awesome. I think I might try to check out that Wildlife with Cookie. Let me see. Cookie thylacine. See what he's got on here. I probably Neil Waters does. Oh, he's got a bunch of stuff for sure. Let's click on this one.
Adamsfield.
It's only 10 minutes long. I haven't really watched this guy's podcast. I don't know. I would think I've watched like 30 minutes of one once, but let's see what he's got to say on this.
1990. Zoom out a little bit, mate. Lovely. So this whole area is where my sightings come from.
Oh, look at this, the creepy crawly trail.
The creepy crawly. So, Adamsfield, thylacine, 1990, in this sort of area. And by the way, Florentine Valley, which is this sort of area, that's where the last one was captured from the wild. So in 1990, maybe 1991, we can't be specific on this, there are two separate accounts which add to the claim, the credence of this. The first one, hunters were out in Adamsfield. This sort of area we've got sort of behind us.
What would you clone it with? I think you would put it in a
trying to like shoot them and whatever.
It's an Asian elephant. I think they're the closest
there's
related.
There's a rustle next to them. Right. An animal's been awoken. It's been startled, scared. It jumps up, tries to run away. One of the hunters gets scared, turns, shoots it, bangs it, dead, straight away, kills it. And after they kill it, they realise, hang on a second, what have we done? They look at the animal and they realise...
Yeah, they would have no natural predators at all.
We've just killed a Tasmanian tiger. So that's number one, the sighting. Also, I should probably add, they did take some pictures of it. Now the second one is a fella called Rusty Morley. He's an interesting guy, great name. He had another name as well, but you see where it says like Maidana or something like that? That's where he was in like Tayana. He's sort of around that area, so in the thylacine, Adamsfield area, right? Now Rusty lived in this sort of area. He took 3 Polaroids of a small thylacine carcass that he found while he was out in the bush that he claims died of natural causes, right?
Okay. I want to see these pictures then. No, that's a pop out. I want to see these pictures. No way! That's gone! Ha! I did not think that was gone at all. Okay, there's something. I'd love to see these pictures. If you have recently deceased thylacine, why aren't you showing the pictures? You might explain it.
Right, very interesting. Those photos, I don't think have ever come to light. Same with the Hunters ones as well.
Why not?
But if you guys like watching want to see or listening want to see what Adamsfield looks like, there's a YouTuber who I interviewed called Rob Parsons. Really interesting guy, outdoorsy guy in Tasmania. He did a big thing around Adamsfield, looking for some huts and stuff. Because Adamsfield in the 1920s and 30s and whatever was a big mining place.
Well, I mean, now that I think about it too, when you said they'd have no natural predators, I mean, a mammoth you wouldn't exactly need natural predators for vegetarians. Like, they're gonna, keep the ecosystem kind of in check a little bit. And I mean, wolves might eventually start trying to hunt them, I mean, probably not as much. Bears might. But I mean, in the end, you would have a certain amount that would be, I hate to say it like this, but allowed to live. And then you would have humans go in and hunt them if you needed to. Or you'd transport them to other parts of the world where they could, help keep the ecosystem in check, like the permafrost areas of like Siberia and Alaska and Canada. Honestly, and you probably have some in zoos. That's probably what would eventually end up happening. Come on! There we go.
You fellas had found this like metal, I think it is, called osmiridium.
Right.
And at the time was like 5
No, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
More than gold.
I don't think they're going to do cave lions.
And they set up a big camp there.
Too dangerous. Oh, that was a bad pitch. Ooh, I got lucky.
People were like trying to find out all this osmiridium. As time went on, that changed because it became less expensive to be or whatever. Because like something had happened where they created a different pen. Because osmiridium was something used in like fountain pens or whatever.
Right.
And then it changed.
Yeah, hunting would be, and people would pay big buku bucks
If you want
To
to
go
see it,
hunt
it's on
a
Rob Parsons'
mammoth.
channel. It's a really good video.
You know
really
they would.
interesting guy as well. But in that area, that's where Rusty comes in, because Rusty himself, the geezer, has had mad sightings, like quite a lot as well. So in 1960, when Rusty was age 15, he said he first saw the tiger in a bush, and he had the opportunity to shoot it with a shotgun, but he didn't. He approached the bush, and the tiger gave what appears to be a threat yawn before taking off. 1984, he had another sighting. 1991, this is the one we're talking about today. He took a picture of these like thylacines 1, 2, and 3 Polaroids of like different aspects of the thylacine. And in 1991, he took a plaster cast next to the road of like what he thought was thylacine prints. 1996, he tracked thylacine around a lake, then took a plaster cast from the lakeside.
Right.
These have been verified by the thylacine research unit.
Then where are
These
they?
plaster casts were looked over, and they couldn't determine it to be anything else other than a thylacine.
Right.
So that's really interesting. Now,
Yeah, but where are these
fake?
casts?
Probably not. Not too sure on that one. We move it on. 1992, and this is where the story gets interesting. A geezer by the name of Colin Coomber, who was a newspaper editor at the time.
There we go.
He's shown around 10 photos of an alleged dead thylacine, which includes a bullet wound from an unknown thylacine researcher who had duplicated the photos without the knowledge of hunters. So this person had seen these photos, duplicated them, and showed this newspaper reporter, Colin Coomber.
Right.
He told us, and it goes like this. He tells about the photos, and he says the full shot. There's a full shot of an animal lying on its right-hand side. You can see it's on like grass and whatever. There's also a close-up side of its left side of its head, with the mouth partially open. There's a close-up of the front foot.
Why can't we use cloning to help species like the northern white rhino? I feel like we should focus on our current species before moving on to extinct ones. Yeah, I think we can do both. There's a lot of people out there. There are a lot of people out there, and a lot of different facilities that do a whole bunch of other things. A company that's based in, the United States doesn't have the best ability to protect rhinos. The people who would protect rhinos the best would be people most likely that live in areas where there are rhinos in the wild. You would need to protect them, and there's multiple ways they do this. There's literally people who stand with armed guards around rhinos at all times, making sure that no one comes and does stuff to them. Like, this is something that does happen. And sure, there are facilities around the world that do things, but like the Andean condors or the California condor is a good example. Like, there are plenty of places, organizations, I should say, that are working to help protect these animals, and they are from the areas where these animals live, because A, people who live near them tend to care more. Sadly, that's just how it is. B, it's just the closer to their environment. So, like, shipping a rhino over to America isn't the best idea. I mean, it happens, obviously, but if you want to do the best with breeding projects, I mean, what's the point of having, 50 rhinos in Texas? Like, well, you're not going to release them, just to say you have them? You want to keep them out in the wild as much as possible. So, but there are companies all over the world who want to do these things. And I say companies, capitalism, and I hate to say it like this, but this is very true. Capitalism is the only reason that these animals are being protected the way they are. Because if there's no monetary incentive to do so, people most likely aren't going to do it. And that could be as true as talking about, like, crested geckos. In 1994, I believe, they were rediscovered. Everyone thought they were extinct. Well, all of a sudden they get into the pet trade. Now everyone and their brother is a freaking crested gecko. You can go to any reptile shop, any pet store, they're gonna have a crested gecko. But the only reason that they went from basically not even knowing they existed to being everywhere is because of people wanting to buy them and sell them and trade them. And you can think that's unethical all you want, but the fact of the matter is that has kept them alive. And these companies are going to make money from doing this. They will get either government subsidies or Other people will invest in them because they can do all these. Like if somebody goes on, we've created a mammoth. You don't think that those people with their the achievements they've made in genetics wouldn't get a job instantly almost anywhere they wanted to? This is also benefiting them as much as it would be benefiting other things. And places all around the world would want them to, clone this or clone that or whatever the case may be. It's good for everybody. So I guess that's my point of why can't they stay in one place or the other? Why can't you can do both, bro? I got you a story. Hang on, we have a story from the hometown of a dog-like creature like the thylacine. Interesting.
And there were a couple of other photos as well, but you can't remember what they were. Colin's still alive today. I'd love to interview him. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, that would be.
But the
rich Westerners, basically.
And I just want to give a shout out here to the guy who runs a website where light meets dark, because without
that curveball
come out with this summary of this story, right? It gets confusing because there are photos in circulation, and there are photos of photos in circulation, and it all becomes so confusing and stuff that I can't dissect on a podcast.
Yeah,
it's very, very weird, confusing, and I don't understand it. But if you want to see more and learn more about that, you go to that guy's website where light meets dark and look at the Adams field thylacine, and you will understand what I'm talking about, because it's a mind boggler and it gets mad confusing, and I honestly would not be able to keep you up to date with it in this podcast. But the two photos show a foot of the thylacine, and they're on the website. There's a photo A, there's a photo B. Both of them have been declared a museum specimen, so not the actual photos of from the hunters. However, in photo B of the foot of the thylacine, there's an actual thylacine's foot on top of it, which is a museum specimen. Underneath that, there's another picture, and it looks like a Polaroid.
Exactly.
And it's
if there are photos of these things, why hasn't anybody seen them?
Chris of Where Light Meets Dark, the website, he believes, or at least has alluded to, that could be the real deal. That picture underneath, and they're using that foot of the museum specimen to compare the photo he's got to this foot here in the museum specimen.
Yeah.
Now,
can't get into it on podcast. I guess so.
Two separate accounts. You've got Rusty, who saw a dead one. You've got the hunters that shot one allegedly. A year later, a newspaper editor sees or gets these photos from an informant, a thylacine researcher. For me, that backs up the stories.
No, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was early.
Personally, after hearing this story and reading this story and all that, I personally believe that could be legit. Thylacine's still around at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but
think about that, because you let me waffle for a lot then. So.
Waffle.
What do you guys think about that?
So the sightings that you just said about, they're the most recent sightings that they've had.
In terms of legitness, yeah. So there'll be sightings every day of people thinking they've seen a thylacine, but in terms of ones that people actually think, oh my god, that could be legit.
If there are thoughts that people are seeing them every day, where are the pictures? You telling me people in Australia or New Zealand or freaking Papua New Guinea? I mean, Papua New Guinea maybe not as much. Oh, come on, that was not a swing. Or Tasmania don't have, if they're seeing them every day, that there hasn't been one picture that is clear as day. I don't believe it. I don't. And I believe they're still out there. But stuff like this is not proving it to me. I'm making fun of them podcaster. Yeah, they can be too restrictive.
These are it, yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like now that technology is as good as it is, that if there was legit sightings, we would have seen about it in the last 20, 30 years.
There is that point. But it's also said that thylacine could be a very nocturnal animal in terms you just won't see it in the day at all.
True, yeah.
What are you going to say, mate?
Just on the technology point though, it's like we just rediscovered the black-naped pheasant pigeon.
Yeah, true, actually. The black-naped pheasant pigeon, Rach, is a a bird in Papua New Guinea hasn't been seen for 140 years. Never documented via video or photo, and did last year.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
But it's like we've still got stuff.
I mean, yeah, that it's possible.
Is out in.
It's definitely not impossible.
Laos.
Hi.
And that doesn't get sighted. But that's a big animal. That's like an antelope,
Yeah.
Oh, well.
and that
Yeah.
never gets seen. Yeah,
So it's
big
possible that it could be out there, just not being seen.
Yeah. So the only things I have with this, right?
Come on, this
my
is where it
questions,
comes through.
How have these photos, if they exist, never come out?
Exactly.
Colin says he's seen about 10 of them, but they've never come out, and he says himself, I don't know how they're not public. Also, who is this person doing this thylacine research? Who is it? And is this potentially the last thylacines? Or are they still out there today?
Yeah, it's like the
I want to see the photos.
Government,
Unless the photos come out, I don't believe it.
Like the
It's just a
they
guy
might
saying
try to keep
things.
it hidden. Because like,
Potentially.
if they release thylacines still out there, there's going to be someone who'll go hunting for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, probably.
So if they know they're a super rare thing, there's like a couple left, they're not going to release it when there's the risk that somebody could go and just shoot them.
Yeah, they will keep it hidden
No.
won't they, for a while.
I don't
thought
think so.
Like if someone finds one tomorrow, that it's not going to be told in the news tomorrow.
No.
If probably never, or in a few years' time, maybe.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Come on, why didn't you run after it, bro? That's some bull.
Adams Field.
Let's see what his problem with
But it's
this
the next
Neil
bit that
Waters
I'm gonna
guy
show
is.
you, which I think casts serious doubt over the credibility of Neil and what he does. Alright everyone, how are we all doing? Welcome along back to a brand new video today. Now I've never really done a video like this
The
before, but today
British.
I'm going to be telling you my
I don't have a
Neil
problem with the
Waters.
British necessarily. I just find them a little funny. A little funny. Talk funny, but they probably think the same about me. It's all love. It's all love.
And explaining why. Now I'm guessing that quite a few of you who are watching this right now will have experienced or seen or heard about the same as what's happened to me and what I'm about to show you. Now recently Vice released a YouTube documentary about Neil looking for the thylacines in Australia. It was a pretty interesting documentary.
Got
It was
it.
more about Neil and Neil's search rather than like Tasmanian tigers and stuff, but I thought it was a pretty good watch. It was quite nice. It basically portrays Neil in a very good light. It comes across as like a very friendly, lovable character, but is all as it seems. Before I get into that though, I recently did a caption competition. Now stay with me because this does actually have relevance to Neil Waters, believe it or not. There were loads of responses and I thank you so much for that. It was pretty mad. There was honestly loads, but here are some of my favourites on the screen right now that had me cracking up. But the winner of the all for me, which made me laugh the most, has got to be this one, run by Neil. He apparently runs his to. Neil is posting that on my caption competition run by Neil, and
this has
this whole
something to do with
video, so well done. But not only that, one of the comments on this caption competition was from the Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia, or TAGOA for short, and it said this: "Damn it, Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia have reported me for stealing their videos again." Now, for those that don't know, TAGOA is run by Neil Waters. But let's talk about why it's come to this. Let's talk about why Neil is posting that on my caption competition. I mean, how has he even seen it? Now, I've had a lot of people talk to me before about Neil Waters and their experiences of it. How he apparently runs his TAGOA group like a cult, and if you argue against anything that he says, he'll kick you out. If you question him, he'll kick you out.
Nice.
If you question anything, he'll kick you out. But I don't have the evidence to show
Nice.
you. So what I will do is provide.
It's like a Discord moderator.
So, here is my problem with Neil Waters. Let's take you back to the start, shall we? Now, before I'd ever made a video on the Tasmanian tiger, like many
There we go. Get out, get out, get out.
Hole on YouTube.
Home run!
Scenes and this, that, and the other, watching all the thylacine content that I could have, and then eventually
Nice.
I came across TAGOA, and then I was presented with Neil Waters. And to me, this was really cool. Here was a guy out in Australia actually doing the field work, collecting sightings from people, collecting samples, doing all these certain things, and he was out and about looking. And for me, that just seemed wicked. I was hooked. This is quality, an animal I'm obsessed with, and there's someone actually
Yeah, that
providing
makes
updates
sense.
on their search for them.
Dang it.
Sign me up. I watched a lot of videos, I found quite a lot of them quite interesting, and I probably commented
Dang
on some
it.
of the older ones and that. And I watched the documentary they did as well. It's about an hour and a half long. Because of that, I joined their Facebook group just so I could keep up to date and follow the search and like what was going on. And then obviously being a YouTuber, I decided to make a video on the Tasmanian tiger as it's something I'm interested in, and it was just a 5-minute video, nothing special. Now if we skip forward to this video here, in short, it's a Mexican fella who thinks he's seen a thylacine in an abandoned zoo in Mexico. Weird video. If you haven't seen it, check it out at some point. But the reason I'm telling you about this right now is because this is where I get my first interaction with Neil. Now bear in mind, I've never spoken to him before. I've only ever seen like the videos he's posted. Literally no communication whatsoever. But he goes and posts this comment. Like, what? Like, what does that even mean? I think I was just more confused. I was like, is he insulting me? Is he insulting the person?
Oh, this dude. This dude sounds like a keyboard warrior. That guy who, I mean, that's taken on so many different names. There are people who just insult you just to, like, I get it in videos all the time. They'll just, like, insult you by making it seem like you have no idea what you're talking about. And, like, again, I don't claim to be, like, a scientist or a herpetologist or a biologist or anything like that. I don't have a degree. I'm just a dude who likes talking about animals. And you'll get people like, okay, an example was recently there was a video I did about like fish's babies, and I was looking up the name, just blue marlin, and I looked up some videos. I saw one of them that came up under blue marlin ended up being a striped marlin, and people were just straight up getting on me for using a video of a striped marlin when I said blue marlin. Didn't make any difference in the video. It's still the same thing, you know, everything. But people were like, God, are you an idiot? That's not, that you're showing misinformation and stuff like that. And I'm like, just straight up insulting. You need to learn how to do that. It's the same sort of thing for no other reason other than they want to seem like they actually have some ground to stand on, I guess. I don't know. What is going on? Again, I've never had any interaction with him or Tagoa, so this was just all a bit bizarre. And that was it until February of this year. We all know what happened then. No. It was massive news, right? The video, we found a thylacine. That was published to the world, and I thought genuinely, oh my God, this is it. We finally got what we want. They found it.
Congratulations, everyone. We've done it.
So in a week, I made 3 videos on it, keeping everyone up to date, like being basically a news channel for the Tasmanian tiger at that point, because I was so invested. I thought this was so exciting, and in my head, this was the real deal, and it was going to be an absolute madness. And I wanted in those 3 videos, I got 2.
I was low.
The second
good timing and everything.
Videos got this comment. So here, he's gone at me for credibility. And he's also said he's reported my video, and I can tell you right now, that did nothing. Nothing changed. Nothing happened. Whatever. The third video received this comment, and it's a little bit... Wow, it's not very good. So in this one, right, we got some strong words, and we got an English stereotype joke. I don't know. And then he mentions I have no permission to take his material. By material, he means these 5 pictures that are flashing across the screen right now. And I'm allowed to use these...
I'll tell you this much. Pictures are very difficult to save yourself with copyright. They are, because they will destroy you when it comes to pictures. I've had videos you can defend on YouTube. Pictures you can't. No one actually listens when it comes to pictures. They don't consider it, like, you can't just transform a picture. So sadly, he would have a lot of ground to stand on. He would.
Images and flash them across the screen because there is such a thing called fair use law. And seeing as I've just informed you that these are the pictures in question from a video in which I criticised them, it's all okay. Nice one. But anyway, those are my 3 dealings with Neil. He's been quite volatile, and I've never made any comment to him whatsoever. So it is what it is, you know, like, this stuff, it can happen. Do I think it's warranted? No, not really. Does it fit in line with how he's portrayed in the documentary? No. Not at all. Anyway, I've left it alone since then because that was such a massive letdown. But in recent times, I've changed my channel towards more of a wildlife and nature-based channel, and I've made some Tasmanian tiger videos, which they've done quite well. They've gained a bit of traction, and it made sense to me to make more Tasmanian tiger videos. So, in that...
Now, this is kind of off topic, but I want to hear what you guys think down below. So, recently, I have been very focused on, Uber. I've had to make sure that I'm making enough money. I just moved. I'm in the new house. There's a lot of stuff I want to get, a lot of stuff I want to do and still plan on doing, especially with the videos, obviously. But, it's been very difficult to sit and do, like, I mean, it takes days of editing for me to do some of these videos, like the really in-depth ones, and I want to do more of those. But my main goal is to shift towards, like, documentary-style videos, like out in the field type thing. I need time to do that, and I don't have that time, sadly, because I have to go drive for Uber. And that's the best way for me to describe it. But do you like this type of video? Do you do you want me, like, doing like the Ramery Island or the Grizzly Man, the stuff like that? Do you like those type of videos, or do you want to see the documentary videos? Because that's my main goal. That's the main thing I want to do. I just haven't had the ability to go out there and do it like I'd like to. But, like, coming up in October, I got some hognose snake stuff that I'm going to do, and I'm hopefully going to make it into, like, a full, like not just a herping video, but like a legit awesome type, I mean, documenting the whole thing. Like, I don't even want to say a vlog, because that's not the right way to put it, but make it like a documentary. Let me know what you guys think about that, because that's kind of the idea.
Logic, I decided, do you know what would be a fantastic video idea? I'm going to interview Neil Waters.
Congratulations, everyone. We've done it.
We're going to talk about all things thylacine, his pictures, Papua New Guinea. We might agree, we might disagree. It's going to be an unfiltered and raw conversation, and people are going to love it. That was genuinely my thinking. Like, I just thought this would be a really good conversation, because we're not going to see eye to eye on some of things, right? But, like, I want to know his opinions on Papua New Guinea. What does he think about thylacines potentially being over there? So with this idea in my head, I thought, do you know what, I need to contact him. I'm going to get in touch. I'm going to send him this message. I'm going to ask him. Let's do an interview. Look, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this. It'll be sick.
But I think a documentary would be
and
pretty
I sent
cool.
the message, right?
Well, I appreciate that.
Later,
I definitely
I do get myself a response, and I get this.
Definitely want to do a little bit of everything. Very thief word.
For God's sake, he just literally won't let that go, will he? I'm a thief. Apparently, I'm a thief. Well,
some people are like that.
It doesn't stop there. He reels off message after message for the next hour or so, and I'm doing a live stream with my mate at this time. I'm watching my phone just go berserk, and I'm like, he's really going for it, isn't he? Now, if you want to, you can pause here because there's a lot going on. But briefly, he doesn't understand fair use still. I'm only contacting him because he's nailed me.
Come on! Come on, get out, get out, get out, get out!
His coattails, I'm rude and arrogant. He's apparently
Home run.
His videos, and
there we go.
To him now. He's blocked me from Tagoa's Facebook group, and I need an attitude adjustment. Like, this
guy sounds fun.
I literally don't know what to say. It's just mental message after mental message. The attitude adjustment comment was a bit weird, because he started our dialogue together. Our first ever interaction together was him telling me I needed to learn English. So I decided to respond to each individual message. But the best bit for me was the padamelon bit. I wouldn't know one if one bit me on the ass. Which is hilarious, because I seem to vividly remember finding a thylacine.
Congratulations, everyone. We've done it.
Yeah, so anyway, you told me I was arrogant, I need to step out of my ego, I'm a thief, and then he blocks me. So... cool.
Yeah, obviously you didn't find the thylacine. This was a year ago.
So nice one, Neil. Cheers. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Because it's gone from me being a fan of him to then him posting angry comments on my videos to then him mouthing off in the DMs at me. I'm just like, what have I done? So that's all the interactions we've ever had, right? Nothing else ever. And I just thought I'd bring the receipts just to show you some proof and be honest and just be transparent about this. Basically, just to show you, he is definitely not how he's portrayed in this documentary. Now, again, I'm not the only one this has happened to. I'm sure
people get huge heads. This kind of reminds me of a situation. I don't know how much you guys are into, like, the reptile world as I am. I don't know what kind of YouTube you guys watch, but one of the people that I have been involved with, or not involved with, but like have watched I've seen this happen is Nerd, New England Reptile Distribution, and what was his name? Dingo Dinkelman. That's who. And Dingo Dinkelman had a situation not too long ago, well, a couple of years ago now, where his channel was taken down because of copyright strikes for like thumbnails, and because he used pictures of like mambas and a couple of other snakes, and they were taken by like these South African photographers who like would just go after you. And I didn't know this at the time, but one of my first copyright strikes was I did a video about the stiletto snake is what it was, the one that has the fangs that like pop out of the side like a walrus, and basically I used it literally like a picture for a second, a little bit of a video that was apparently this person's video, and they copyright struck me, and this was the same people who did it to them. I didn't know it until Nerd did a whole video about it not too long ago. So basically there are people like that who don't understand how copyright works, and they think that they could. I don't know. They love to, especially people. It seems like this Neil Waters guy is a hot piece of work. I don't know how. I'm trying to be nice about it. He seems like a very not so nice person. Well, hello, Bear Pushy. How you doing today? I almost said something gross. Why'd you make me do that? But yeah, people take it to such a degree. It's crazy.
Person called Forrest Galante. Well, Neil went after him as well. He called him a thief and the rest of it. It was just a bit weird. And I think it's all because we talked about his pictures.
I'd like to think that the thylacine is still around, but there's no evidence
serious doubt over the credibility of Neil
that would really point in that direction for me, at least currently. And everything they go over, there's like the pictures are missing or whatever.
Neil made this big show about how they've got unambiguous proof of a thylacine and how that turned out. I think a lot of us,
but it is possible.
What he says at that point. But what struck me in the conversation we had in the DMs is the amount of pure waffle he was speaking. Just waffle. About me. To me. He said, I'm contacting him.
I'm sorry. Dang it. I am so sorry that I don't have a problem with British people. Waffle. I just waffled on that pitch. I just struck out because I'm paying attention to too many things at once, and I'm just swinging through everything. But waffle, it's funny. It's funny.
Him, because he's nailed me. What is he actually talking about? I have no idea. Like, he has not nailed me on anything ever. I don't understand. And if he can clarify that would be great.
Exactly. I want to know where the pictures are too.
He also says I'm riding his coattails. What do you mean? I've made around 200 videos. I've got over 2 million views on this channel, and about 3 videos include him, where I'm talking about his pictures. Now, I know this is all fictitious waffle of the highest caliber, right? I know this myself.
Waffle.
But the thing that got to me is, I thought, well, what if he's telling other people this about me when it's just complete waffle? So that got me thinking, if he could so openly and brazenly just make up
they said that there was pics of shot with like dead thylacine and a couple of pictures of like footprints and casts of footprints, but
these
like
aren't the only 5 images from that spot in that video earlier this year. Neil calls this photo an unambiguous photo of a baby thylacine. We can all make our judgments of it, and I'm pretty sure at the time, I think I might have said it was a baby wallaby, or like a Joey wallaby or something like that. But also at the same time,
but yeah, no, there are no pictures actually available. They just say they are there.
And there are multiple ways you can look at this photo, right? And I'm going to highlight it in 2 ways. Initially, when I see it, I'm seeing an animal moving away from the camera. And that's why I think it's potentially a wallaby, like a baby wallaby hopping away. But a lot of people look at this image and they just see a cat. But now if we flip this and we say the animal is moving towards the camera, then you can see what really looks like a cat's head turned to the side. Here's an actual picture of a cat's head turned to the side in almost exactly the same manner as what you're seeing in this picture. They look very similar. And about a month after the photos were released,
they're always terrible photos.
To criticise everyone who thought it was actually a cat. He says it's 100% a totally incorrect argument and to put up, shut up, or go away. The overwhelming opinion was cat, and he didn't want to hear it anymore. Now, the amazing part, the utterly astounding part...
Yeah, that was definitely not thylacine.
Like nailing in his own coffin. He posts another picture from the same spot using the same camera, and here it is. It's a cat. It's strikingly similar to the unambiguous photo of a baby thylacine. The so-called stripes in this photo can literally be shadows and tabby cat markings. Maybe it's even the same cat. Maybe it's a kitten of this cat. But why wasn't this ever mentioned among the 5 photos that were released to the public, supposically showing
exactly.
You literally have one of the images here that looks almost identical.
And it's even smaller, so it would have to be like a micro thylacine.
But instead, you spin a different story. The question for me is, did Nick Mooney ever get to see that photo? Did you show him that photo, or did you just give him the 5 and say, deal with that? What do you think of that then? Because I'm pretty sure if you showed him that one as well, he's not looking good. Because context matters in this situation. Like, let's just say hypothetically there are pictures on that camera and that cat shows up more than once. The odds are that
it's
in
the same
photo
cat
is another cat and not a thylacine. Out of context, you can make a case. You can push your story to the world and get people on your side. You put this photo in for context and you lose everybody immediately.
It's a cat. What am I doing?
Rather than objectively look at these pictures and compare them, we didn't. We got a worldwide media frenzy over some really dodgy pictures. Like,
and it makes people look dumb. It makes people who believe in it look dumb.
This just makes me question everything about Neil and Tagoa and their credibility and authenticity.
Exactly.
Like, I genuinely think he actually wants to find one, but are we seeing some like confirmation bias here, or is he just chatting waffle to get a bit of money? Like, what's going on?
It's like the whole the Mexican aliens today or the other day. For those of you who haven't heard about that, they claim that they found alien corpses, but like, you know, they showed like the body and like the organs and all this stuff. I don't believe it. I mean, I don't. I think it's made up. I want to believe it, but I mean, they say they're 1,000-year-old dead aliens. Like, bro, no. It doesn't look right. None of it does. It doesn't make any sense. And they claim that they're going to let a bunch of scientists come in and take a look at them. But like, the more and more you push stuff like this, stuff that is just completely bogus, the worse it's going to look to the general public, and the less likely people are ever going to believe instead of combing through tropical, subtropical jungles and desert scrub filled with creatures they have been known to kill you in search of the thylacine, we should just clone it. Bigfoot is blurry. I've seen the thylacine. I bet you have. Dun 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 dun. Exactly. I mean, bring the proof and I'll believe you.
In the foot over and over and over again. Now, I've said this before in the past when it comes to big cats in the UK, right? Not hearing all sides in an argument creates an echo chamber. Echo chamber in which Neil controls, and he will kick out anyone who disagrees.
Oh, got him!
That has people giving them money to fund things. For 120 Australian dollars, you can actually become a part of
Dollary Dudes
and sponsor them a trail camera. Now, I'm not saying they can't or they shouldn't do that. It's actually a good idea to implement that, as it helps with the costs. But the reason I mention that is because the people who are spending that money are just being lied to. It's not transparent, and if it was, those pictures would not have been released in March. They knew about this cat photos, and they tried to hide it instead. Now, I was also actually kicked out of Tagoa on Facebook.
There we go. Yeah, as soon as they showed the side view of the cat, my mind instantly picked it up.
It just stinks of disagreeing with him, and he's creating that echo chamber more and more. It's just not the way to be. It's not healthy. You need a bit of skepticism in anything to make it actually substantial and
I'm
worthwhile.
gonna
And
bunt
I guess
here.
that is my problem with Neil Waters. If you don't question him, he's okay and he's probably a lovable character. But if you do question him, or you show some
He'll go
healthy
ballistic
signs
on you.
of skepticism, you are exonerated from a group, you're kicked out, you're argued with, and to be honest, you sent pretty nasty verbal abuse. Like, I've got thick skin, so I don't mind, but like other people are going to get that thing. What? I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's setting like quite a dangerous thing there. Like,
Let's go!
going on. He comes across as this crusading guy who's fighting off all the non-believers so he can find a third.
There we
But if
go.
you peel
I'm
back
winning
the
a
curtain
game,
and see what's
finally.
there, it's not very nice. Now that is going to be all for me in this video anyway. I hope that sheds a bit of light on Neil Waters.
Well, I do have to say, it's not a very flattering still of you, my boy Cookie. There we go. Go check his channel out. It's Wildlife with Cookie. I'll put a link in the description below for all that stuff. Yeah, that it's interesting. I think it's definitely possible. Do I think it's likely? No. I'm leaning more along the lines of it's probably not alive, even though I want it to be true. But I mean, what else can you really say? Like, what? There's no way to know or prove it one way or the other until a body is finally found, or a live animal is brought in, or something that's recently deceased. And oh my god, that was so close to getting out. I just don't think it's currently going to happen anytime soon. I would like to be completely wrong, but the more and more time goes on and nothing is brought up, the more and more unlikely it is that these animals are still alive. That's just the fact of the matter. I mean, it's just the truth with any of it. The longer time goes on, the less likely it is. And not saying it's impossible, because there are animals that have been thought to have been extinct that are have been brought back. You know, and brought back, I mean rediscovered. This has happened, but it's not a likely scenario. Not in the least. Not likely at all. And it's sad to say, but that's just what we got to deal with. And the more people keep on making claims, the more and more they happen, the less and less likely it seems to me. I mean, people will get the fever for it, but these people are out there all year long looking for them, and nothing is come in the way of proof. And it's sad. On the topic of cryptid-like creatures, does Florida have any cryptids? Yeah, we have the skunk ape. That's a big one. It's the Florida Bigfoot. I am mixed on that. I mean, I believe in that as much as I believe in normal Bigfoot. I'd like to believe it's real, but like, to me, there's not enough proof of it. At the same time, I did do a video when I went down to the Everglades last time. I met up with Creature Preacher, who's a TikToker, and we found a footprint. It looked very human-ish, and it was weird because it was, you know, there was a lot of rain in the area. The whole area was flooded out, and there was just a barefoot footprint in the middle of the swamp, in like the only high ground that was out there, and it was creepy. And I have the video not too long ago that I made, so, and you can see the whole thing. I got videos and pictures of it, put my foot next to it so you can see the size of it. It was very small. I mean, it could easily have been like a footprint of one of the natives living out there. You know, and like, I mean, maybe there was a kid. I mean, it was a kid-sized print. It had to be a kid out there alone, and that's weird. That's weird. I don't understand it, but that's what I saw. So, like, I'd like to think that the simplest explanation is the one that's probably going to be most accurate. And the most simplest explanation to me was that it was a person out there barefoot. But you never know. I could be wrong. Maybe I found a Bigfoot print. I don't know. Maybe it was an elf or a gnome or something, and I'm barking up the wrong tree. Maybe there's spirits out there in the Everglades. You know, blow, blow, seminole wind. I don't know. I definitely would like to look into it a little bit more. Look into the cryptid stuff a little bit more, just because I've always loved it. I've thought it was fun. But the problem is that people who look into this stuff with a skeptical eye either get laughed off the stage, like Renee from No Friendly Quit. If you're gonna quit, you better quit. I'm no hitting you. Oh, look at that! I made him quit! Well, with all that being said, I did win one game while I was playing on here, so there's that at least. With all that being said, I think I'm going to call it here. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Go check out. I'm sure you never know. I wish Florida had cryptids. I mean, there are more cryptids. I'll do a video on that, or I'll talk about it a little bit more at another time. But make sure to check out the guys that we have watched their videos on today. I think that would be really cool of you to do, you know, because I don't like stealing people's content, you know, and doing stuff. I mean, you know, if I'm fumbling my words. Go check them out. Wildlife with Cookie and Wild World. Subscribe to them, and I appreciate them making these videos. But anyway, I'll see you on the next one.